And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Greetings, listeners and fans. Welcome to another episode of RBLR Bucs, your ultimate source for all things Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm one of your co-hosts tonight, Musab, and the number of the day is 66. Why is that? Well, because we have an uphill battle for 66 days, my friends. We'll call this yearly battle the off season. And while it may be tough at times, I remember what a famous hiker once told me, which was difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. So hang in there. That beautiful destination, aka the preseason, which was what I was talking about, is 66 days away. And since we're talking about beautiful destinations, I want you to close your eyes, unless you're driving while hearing this, and imagine you're at your new favorite destination called RBLR Island, and you're about to dive into the cool, calm RBLR water. But before we dive headfirst into tonight's show, let me introduce you to the co-captain of this ship, the man who eats, sleeps, and breathes Buccaneers football. He is my incredible co-host, Carter Brantley. The mic is yours.
I appreciate it, Mr. Tariq. Thank you for that wonderful intro. I love the idea of RBLR Island. I mean, my goodness, it's like, it's that'd be great. Owning our own island, have RBLR flags all over the place. That'd be really cool. But yeah, it's another week closer to football. Like you said, plus Order 66. For all the Star Wars fans, that's kind of a little shout out. Execute Order 66. Kind of a dark take on that, but that's how it be sometimes. But there's a little bit of Bucs news this week. Not a whole lot. There was a kind of a piece by Rick Stroud, or a tweet, whatever you want to call it. He was talking about Sua Opeta. He was apparently turning heads at OTAs. He was doing his thing, and doing it well. So that's exciting to hear. He was part of that Philadelphia O-line last year. They were always dominant in the run game. Maybe he picked up some things from that those ridiculous players like Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, and even Landon Dickerson. I know he's kind of a young buck still, but he's really freaking good. So, hopefully Opeta is kind of making that transition over to the Bucs and getting this opportunity and making it shine. So, how does this make you feel about the Bucs O-line? Does it make you excited? It's kind of like, it's OTA. It's one of those best shape of your life stories. What were your thoughts on this, Musa?
Yeah, I don't want to put too much kind of into it just yet, just because it's just OTAs. But it's definitely, good to hear that. These kind of additions we've made to our offensive line, it's kind of optimistic for sure. And you mentioned already, he's definitely got experience and he's played with a great bunch of guys. So I don't think we're just gonna get a guy like, just because he came from the Eagles, he'll do just fine, even though he was a backup or something. The thing is, he only played, I think he started 10 games the last 4 years, which is from that article I read from Rick Stroud. And but other than that, though, I guess, yeah, it's nice to know that he was one of those kind of team members with that little signature tush push by the Eagles. So maybe he can teach us how to do that. But no, that's really about it, though. I don't know. I'm happy to hear it. And I think that, what we've done this offseason, from Barton to Klein to even getting Ben Bredesen and Sua Opeta, it's making me optimistic. I don't know if it's going to be a huge game changer with this new offensive line or revamped offensive line, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's certainly not bad news, but it's not necessarily great news. I'm not banging the table and saying, "Oh man, Bucs are going to lead the league in rushing yards per game this year." No, that's not exactly it. But it was nice to hear that he's stepping up to the plate and taking this challenge and kind of taking the bull by the horns and all those different metaphors that you want to
And
use.
the thing is also, it's not like Todd Bowles or any of the coaching staff can say, "Oh yeah, he's mediocre," or whatever. We're working on it. Obviously, because the thing is, the statements that I've heard, or even from the article that Rick Stroud was, what he mentioned from Todd Bowles, for example, it's not like it's really kind of some solidified proof that he really is showing something. It's just like, yeah, he's got the kind of pass blocking down, and he even actually mentions Todd Bowles. He actually mentions in that article that everything's different, obviously, when you have the pads on, but so far so good. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's better than like Tennessee's talking about their first round pick from a few years ago, Traylon Burks, and saying that he needs to earn a spot on the roster by playing well on special teams. So it's better than that.
It's better than
You
that
know,
for sure.
right? Like there are levels. At least the Bucks are saying good things out of OTAs. There are certainly some teams that aren't saying some very nice things about their players up to this point. So it's better than that for sure. So that's how it be. But speaking of wide receivers, there was the Justin Jefferson contract. He set the market as everyone kind of expected. It's Justin Jefferson. He's the best wide receiver in football. There's not really a lot of conversation around that. But when I saw the number, I was like, oh man, like that's the highest paid non-quarterback. That's just really, really intense. I get it. I'm not arguing with it, but man, it really made me grateful that the Bucks locked up Evans when they did. They signed him to at this point what might seem like a team friendly deal. So I wanted to hear your thoughts. How does it change your perception? How does the Justin Jefferson deal change your perception of the Mike Evans contract?
I mean, I kind of just feel the same way. I'm happy that we kind of secured that Mike Evans deal before this kind of news. It's a crazy amount. I think it's a hundred something guaranteed as well. Correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong.
Oh yeah,
So
it's up there.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been a big kind of like NFL numbers kind of guy. So I don't really have too much to say. But I mean, hey, that's crazy. But I feel like it's one of the, I guess, perks for the Minnesota Vikings of moving on from Kirk Cousins to a rookie quarterback that you can spend elsewhere. So yeah,
No,
that's kind of what I
absolutely.
was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, right on the head. I mean, you see it across the NFL with teams when they hit on a quarterback, it's huge because, like you said, they don't have to spend money on that position. Because my goodness, I mean, we're we're sitting here talking about Dak Prescott maybe getting $50 million, and I mean, good gracious, I mean, I don't know. It's just quarterbacks are getting paid crazy amount of money nowadays. So yeah, when you have one that's on a rookie deal, like you said with JJ McCarthy, what they have right now with him, um, it's huge. It allows you, like you said, to spend your money elsewhere, to kind of be able to actually spend money on other positions instead of just saying, all right, paying all this money for the quarterback and then we'll figure out everything else. It's actually figuring out everything else and then like, oh, hey, we've got some money to spend. So yeah, I thought it's a great perspective for sure. Right on the money. No pun intended, but yeah, I'm excited to see how Mike Evans can do on this new contract. And thankfully, he's not making that Justin Jefferson money because that would tie up quite a bit of that cap space for the Bucks. So now that we're talking about Mike Evans and thinking about the Bucks and thinking about them offensively, I don't know with the Opeta news and all the additions that they've made to this offensive line. There's a lot of kind of expectations for me, at least for this team offensively, especially entering the second year of Baker Mania. It's Baker season, whatever you want to call it. So Musab, what are your expectations for this team offensively? I know it's really early, but going into this year, what do you expect from that group?
Yeah, sure thing. Just a couple things, or I'll probably say three or four things. First thing, I expect kind of Baker Mayfield to kind of start showing more kind of flashes of a lot of better football than he's played in the past. I mean, this is his team now, and I feel like overall, I've heard just good things about even Liam Cohen joining our offensive team as well. So that's one thing I'm looking at, but another expectation, I'm expecting more offensive line stability for sure. All right, especially with the additions and the drafts, draft picks we got. Hey, listen, injuries and roster changes from these last couple of years, it sucks. But I just think that hey, as long as our guys stay healthy, or at least our starters, I think we'll be good. But the big thing that I'm expecting is Duffy to try to find more opportunities to open up that run game for sure. Um, and along with that run game, yeah, how can Bucky Irving contribute to this kind of run game? And on top of that, the skill position players, I'm expecting either Jalen McMillan or Trey Palmer, one of those guys to step up to the plate and seal that kind of wide receiver three role. Um, and then other than that, I'll probably say the last big thing is I kind of want to see more red zone efficiency. I feel like we kind of struggled at times to convert opportunities into touchdowns. So hopefully maybe some better execution this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all great points for sure. The Bucks have a lot of different things going on offensively over the past few years with Brady exiting, and like you said, with the offensive line experiencing so much turnover. So yeah, the expectation of more consistency from that position group, just in regards of personnel, would be a valid thing. It's something that I think the Bucks have been working on. I think it's something they were very well aware of heading into this offseason, and I think they did a nice job of addressing it. And yeah, I mean, all signs point towards Baker having a great year if he just, if he does his thing, if he's able to continue the growth that he showed last season. Obviously, like you mentioned, under a new offensive coordinator and Liam Cohen, but there is a familiarity there, from his time or from that very brief time in LA. Um, yeah, the hope is that Baker can take that step forward and kind of use that this new offensive line, the new weapons, like you said, McMillan, and hopefully Trey Palmer can continue to take a step forward after what I think we can all agree was a surprisingly productive season for a sixth round pick.
Hmm.
So Baker Mayfield's definitely going to have to take advantage of this opportunity, and I think that the expectations for me at least for this team offensively are definitely relatively high. Like I expect this to kind of be an upper echelon group, maybe not top 10, but definitely in the top 50, in the good half of the league, definitely above average. I'm not expecting this team to struggle mightily offensively or anything. I'm not expecting Kansas City or that, but definitely expecting some good things from this offense. So Musab, kind of bounce it back to you. Like where do you expect this team to rank in terms of scoring? Just putting the ball in the end zone, putting the ball through the uprights. Where do you expect this team to end up at the end of the year offensively?
I'll probably just say in the middle. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to be. Yeah, yeah. I don't. There's nothing that tells me they're going to be the top, or nothing scares me or makes me concerned that says, "Oh man, I don't know if these guys can score."
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. There's definitely nothing that's a glaring weakness, but they also, I mean, other than Godwin and Evans being the two dynamic wide receiving threats, there's not really a part of this offense that makes you go, oh, yeah, like I'm really, really excited. I'm stoked. Yeah, so I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of expecting middle ground, but yeah, definitely hopefully towards the top of that middle of the pack. That's kind of my expectation for the Bucks this season for sure. So yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how it plays out. Obviously, the running game going to play a huge part in this, because last year, they last 2 years they've ranked in the bottom in rushing yards per game. It's been a brutal thing to have to sit through as a Bucks fan, as someone who watches Bucks games all the time. I mean, I it's hard. It's hard to watch. They get the first down handoff, and then it goes for 1 or 2 yards, and then or they lose yards. I mean, it's just tough. Luckily, the success rate was a lot higher last year than in years previous, and it seemed to progress. Rashad White seemed to get better as the year went on, which was phenomenal. And I'm also expecting a lot out of Rashad White to continue his growth receiving, just being a receiving back, and being involved in the screen game, being involved in those little dump offs, little out routes and stuff like that, because he was one of the best receiving backs in football last year. So there's no reason to think that he can't continue that, even with Liam Cohen coming in, kind of establishing maybe a different offensive scheme than what Dave Canales had last year. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see how Rashad White can continue his growth as well in terms of this offense and their expectations moving forward. But another thing that I'm really, really super stoked about, if all of our fans listening, is the RBLR shop. We've got some really great clothes there. We've got some really great gear for you. Everything Tampa Bay sports related, you can find it. Rays, Bucks, Lightning, Rowdy. We've got everything. The Rowdies are playing some great soccer right now, or football, the European version, whatever you want to call it. And the Lightning are in the depths of the off season, so you can get yourself a little pick me up. I know just like in football, Lightning fans are waiting for the season to start back up again for the Tampa Bay team, and definitely check it out. And the Rays are winning right now. They're beating the snot out of the Marlins for the second straight night. Hopefully that can continue. So definitely pick up some Rays gear as well at shop.rblrsports.com, and we'll give you a 10% off code. That's Cannons, Cannons. Type that bad boy in and get 10% off your entire order. So moving to the second half of our episode, you mentioned Bucky Irving a little bit earlier in this episode, and I kind of wanted to touch base on that. How do you expect him to be incorporated into this offense, or really into this team, in general? Maybe not necessarily just on offense, but in special teams too. What are your expectations for him coming into this season?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned special teams thing, because I think he's definitely going to have at least some kind of impact for sure, and I think that's involving special teams. Particularly in the kind of those kick punt returns, um, especially with the kind of new rule as well. And then we also let Devin Tompkins go, so perhaps maybe that's why we also got him just a little bit more versatility. But um, I also expect him. I think it's expected that he is supposed to be kind of like a change of pace back. I don't know if you want to call Rashad White like a power back either, but I'm just hoping that I guess since he's got a little bit more of that kind of where he's known to have that explosive speed or elusiveness, hopefully that can kind of be a little bit of a change of pace. But we'll see. I don't know. I there's nothing that kind of tells me that oh yeah this guy's completely different from Rashad White other than kind of that kind of Speedy Gonzalez vibe that I'm kind of getting from him, which is why I think we should definitely get him in the special teams. But other than that, I think we're just slowly going to have to just incorporate him and then see what is he good at, what is he not good at, when can we use him, when can we not. But I'm hoping at least it's. I don't know. I guess that's my question for you. What are you thinking? Kind of sharing the ball percentage wise, you think it's going to be like a 60-40, between Rashad White and Irving, maybe 70-30? Well, I guess
Yeah, I
also we
mean,
have to include the other running backs if they do ever play, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, they've re-signed. They brought Chase Edmonds back.
yeah.
Hopefully, he can stay a little bit more healthy this year. I think that's what they're hoping on and banking on. So I'd probably say more of a 70-15 split almost.
Oh wow, okay.
Like having Irving and Edmonds kind of be the change of pace
Yeah.
guys every now and then. Because like you said, I mean, Rashad White's not really a between the tackles power back. But neither are Edmonds or Irving. So, I mean, of the three of them, I guess White is probably the most power backy of all three of them. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they play in these short yardage situations because I don't think that running the ball up the gut with Bucky Irving or Rashad White is much of a formula for success when you're trying to get a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 2. I've been combing through Ohio State Michigan game film from last year and watching Blake Corum just like punch it up through the middle and all that stuff is really fun. And then I think about the Bucs and I'm like, oh my goodness, like they don't have anyone like that. They don't have a big bodied running back that's going to be able to, hammer that at home. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do in those situations. It'll be really interesting. Maybe O'Keefe lines up at fullback and takes some handoffs. I don't know. We're getting into some kind of weird territory here, but yeah, that's a great question. But I think 70-15-15. I think White is still, health providing is still going to take the lion's share of the touches at the running back position and regardless of the situation. But yeah, Bucky Irving definitely going to be interesting to watch in the preseason for sure. Because, preseason can be really, really important. If he can show that he can be a little bit more of a power back, or maybe he can add a few pounds in the offseason, get into a workout regime. Maybe he can be a little bit like not quite Doug Martin, but kind of getting there, the muscle hamster type of thing. So yeah, I'm really excited to see his growth and see what he can provide to this Bucs offense for sure. So yeah, Bucky Irving, who knows? But moving, kind of changing gears here because we focus more on the offense, but there's obviously two sides of the ball, offense and defense, and they're both kind of in the middle ground. Like I don't really know what to make of them. I don't really know which one scares me the most necessarily, but I'm kind of leaning towards defense, I guess, if I have to answer that question, like which side or which group that I'm thinking about. And I'm like, oh man, like I'm really worried that they're going to finish near the bottom in most categories. But maybe you just disagree, Mr. Tariq. What are your thoughts? Which side scares you the most on this Bucs team?
Yeah, defense scares me the most. We've been talking about it quite often throughout this offseason with our friend Zach Blaine as well, with our cornerback situation. Really happy with our happy that we got Whitehead back, but even safeties, I mean, could be a kind of a hit or miss kind of situation as well, depending on,
Mikey
if our
Smith.
guys stay healthy.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, we got Tyke Smith, so I guess it's all good. But
It's
I
all
mean, hey, I'll tell you this. Yeah, I'll tell you this though. I mean, we also have KJ Britt now stepping up to the plate. He's now a starter. So what we saw from KJ Britt was just we only saw a little bit of KJ Britt last year. So now that he is a starter, how does that kind of work out? And then I feel like our pass rush has never been super, or these last couple years has nothing been kind of scary. So again, I feel like there is a lot of room for improvement. I hope these guys improve. I think there will be improvement. How much, I don't know, but for that reason, that's why I'm more scared about our defense than our offense.
Yeah, I mean the linebacking situation is interesting. The cornerback situation's really weird. We've talked about it to death for sure. But yeah, KJ Britt, Servassier Dennis, kind of a forgotten man there because he was a fifth round pick last year and he didn't really play very much, didn't see the field too often. Yeah, KJ Britt seems primed and ready to take that starting spot alongside Levante David. But if not, guess you got to see if the pit guys can make it happen. Kalijah Cansey and Servassier Dennis up the middle. But yeah, I'm definitely more concerned about the defense. I'm with you because that pass rush group. I mean, my goodness, I know we've mentioned it on previous episodes as well. It's tough with Yaya Diaby, JTS, Randy Gregory, Anthony Nelson. And the new guy out of Alabama, Chris Braswell. I mean, I don't know what to make of it. If you had to pick, I guess getting even deeper into the scariness of this group, and not in a good way, not the good kind of scary, the intimidating thing that you're looking for out of defenses. What position group are you definitely most concerned about within that defense?
Uh, I'm gonna say pass rush. I want to be a little different. I feel like we
Ooh,
just keep on
okay.
hammering cornerbacks.
For sure.
I'll let I'll give that to you or Zach. I feel like that's definitely Zach's answer. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
um, but yeah, we'll say Zach's at cornerback, and I have to say, I mean, it's kind of just it's a close neck tie, 1-2, and I'm going pass rush. I mean, Carter, when was the last time we said, "Oh, Logan Hall, man, I'm so happy the Buccaneers. Oh man, he's an absolute stud." You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Personally, I don't. You know what I'm saying? Vita Vea. Oh yeah, man. We all love Vita. Vita's been balling out. Kalijah Cansey on the come up. JTS. We've been saying like, okay, when is he gonna, when is he gonna kind of start really producing? Yaya Diaby again on the come up, and then we just already talked about the other guys with our linebackers. So yeah, that's our situation. And then I mean our backups. I don't really have much to say about these because I haven't seen much of them play. I mean, yeah, we didn't see Servassier Dennis. And then I mean, yeah, Golston, Greg Gaines, Mike Green, Anthony Nelson. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
I don't
just
know. Where's
reading.
your head at? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, reading off that roster, I mean, my goodness, it's brutal. It gets tough, especially when you get into the defensive line, that front seven. Because that's something that the Bucks have kind of been. I don't want to say they've been known for, but it's kind of been their calling card is stopping the run and containing things like that. And they had Shaq Barrett and JPP coming off the edge during that Super Bowl run. I mean, their pass rush was definitely not like, it's not Von Miller and Demarcus Ware good, but it's certainly it was solid. It was something to think about if you're an opposing team coming into Raymond James or playing them in the playoffs or what have you. But yeah, now I mean, you really don't have to game plan for any of them. I mean, it's like Yaya Diaby had a lot of sacks last year, but they were cleanup sacks. I mean, he is
Hmm.
none
Yeah.
of the guys on this Bucks team's win rate was very good, and that's kind of the catch-all stat for pass rushers nowadays. And unfortunately, the Bucks win rate has been incredibly low. And I think we saw it in that Lions game in the playoffs last year.
Oh
Jared
yeah.
Goff, I mean, he was just sitting there drinking a cup of coffee, reading a newspaper, and then deciding where he wanted to go with it. It's just brutal. I mean, you can cover all day and all you want, but eventually someone's going to get open. And that's the tough part for me. And I know Zach is kind of on the other side of it. And if he were here, he'd be, yammering and yapping away about cornerbacks. But yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, Mr. Tariq. I'm with you, Musab. I got to go with the pass rush group for sure. That's the most concerning part of this defense. Because man, I don't really know how you game plan for that. I don't want Todd Bowles to have to exotic blitz his way out of these things. They should just be able to actually get after the quarterback, which unfortunately has not been a thing, especially last year. And I'm not sure that I have much confidence that it'll change this year.
It,
So
it,
yeah,
it reminds me of that situation. I don't know why I just thought about it. It's kind of like capture the flag. Now, I don't mean to put anyone down, but when I used to play capture the flag, we used to put the less athletic people on puppy guard, and they used to puppy guard the flag. And I'll tell you this: the fast guys, or and girls too, if they were fast, the fast guys and girls, it was them who the team counted on to get the ball from the other side and actually win. So
For sure.
That's the same way I feel about pass rush. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you can have Whitehead and Antoine Winfield puppy guarding, the ball, but you know, I'll just summarize it. Just the way I feel about defense. If your name isn't Vita Vea, Levante David, Antoine Winfield, or even Jordan Whitehead, I don't think you're safe. I think you have something to prove. That's about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Because even Jamel Dean has been banged up over the years. I mean, you can't
yeah,
on him, unfortunately.
yeah.
And I know that's been a really contentious thing for the Bucs over the past few years is cornerback health. So yeah, Jamel Dean's got something to prove this year. He can if he can prove he can stay healthy and play a whole season. And he's the number one corner guy now. I mean, it was kind of like a 1A, 1B situation with him and CD3. But CD3's gone. He's in Detroit. So it's Jamel Dean, and that's it. He is their best corner. He's the guy. So if he can't step it up, if he can't do his thing, then man, the Bucs could really struggle because then you're depending on Zion McCollum and Bryce Hall. I still can't keep him straight. Mr. Hall from the Jets. Then those two guys are your outside corners, and that's depressing. I'm sorry. I have no doubt that they're both hopefully fine individuals and they're nice guys, but man, if those are your two starting corners, it might be a long season, especially defensively. So yeah, I'm with you. The the capture the flag situation, that metaphor is definitely spot on right there for sure. But shifting our gears more towards an NFL perspective, looking at the league as a whole, I don't know that any of us are going to sit here and say that, oh, the Bucs are Super Bowl favorites, they're going to win it all. So in your mind, who's kind of a dark horse candidate though? Because I know Kansas City's repeat champs, they're going for a three-peat. But there's still some really good teams in the NFL. So in your mind, Musab, who's kind of a dark horse, way too early Super Bowl candidate?
Oh man, way too early. Dark horse. I'm gonna go with Detroit Lions.
Oh, okay.
I
I
think they
like it.
got some. I think they got some good talent. They got a nice young core. They got Jared Goff, Gibbs, St. Brown. I feel like defense has improved. Dan Campbell is an absolute dog. You know what I'm saying? I think he's put that kind of winning culture in that team as well.
For sure.
They've always been seen as underdogs, and kind of looking at the whole division, I feel like the whole NFC North is kind of going through this state of transition, I guess. A lot of changes going on, and I feel like no one's actually that one dominant team, or so I think they definitely have a chance. I mean, hey, listen, they proved to the whole league what they're capable of doing, last year, or last postseason in the playoffs. So I think they got another shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Detroit's a good one. Yeah, they get to play the Bears and the Vikings, two of the worst teams in football from last year, four times combined. Especially those Vikings. Those Vikings look rough, especially if JJ McCarthy can't step up and produce in a talented offense. So yeah, the Lions are a good pick. The Packers are another really good team in that division that could sneak in as a wild card, or maybe them and the Lions, kind of like the Eagles and the Cowboys last year. They're kind of fighting for the division, but they both know they're going to make the playoffs as a wild card. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I know that Baltimore
Mm.
has consistently been good, but they've never been able to take that next step in the Lamar Jackson era. But man, I think this is the year. I think that Kansas City is they're still going to be there. They're still going to be great because it's Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelsey and all that. So the Kansas City's still going to be there. They're still going to all roads lead through there. Baltimore's going to have to beat them in the playoffs, I believe, but they're kind of my low key Super Bowl pick. I think that they could low key come out of the AFC if things swing their way. Maybe if injuries don't plague them, if Lamar can stay healthy throughout the year, which hasn't always been a given over the years, unfortunately. But if he can do that, man, Baltimore could be really scary. I really like the Ravens out of the AFC. But we're coming to a close on this episode. We hope y'all enjoyed what you were hearing. Every week we're closer to the regular season. Every week we're closer to the preseason. Like Mr. Tariq said, 66 days away. So, hopefully by then you'll still be with us, and we'll be coming at you with great Bucs content until then and beyond. Because, once that regular season starts, we're going to be talking Bucs football, and it's going to be exciting. We're going to be talking about Baker Mayfield and this defense. Hopefully they won't be as bad as we think they're going to be. But you never know. But until then, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe button if you like what you heard, so then you can stay in the know and know when we're coming out with new shows. You can also give us a follow on social media at RBLR Sports, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We've got great content across this channel. Definitely check it out. So for me and Mr. Tariq, thank you so much for listening. And as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.